Alright, start syncing now. Alright, so as we all know, of course, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero comes out in just 4 days. And yeah, we're almost there. So I just saw this review. Well, I didn't see it, but I just saw people talking about it, about this game journalist reviewing Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. And yeah, I never heard of this game journalist until now, Gameology. And judging from the dislikes to like ratio, this looks like this is not going to be a very good review. And we always clown on game journalists all the time. So, let's just see what they're talking about. At this point, if they say some stupid stuff, I'm not going to be that surprised, because game journalists, they don't know what they're talking about most of the time. So let's see how dumb this could get.
Can you spot what's wrong with these two Dragon Ball Z games? They show the same scene, Goku and Vegeta battling it out in a Utah-looking desert. It's a classic clash that took DBZ into the modern era. And with the new engine, you can likely pick out which one is the newest game, Sparking Zero. But which one is the second newest?
Which one's the second newest? Okay, obviously Xenoverse 2, the one on the top right. Well, why is Burst Limit there? That's a game from 2008. Well, are they trying to prove like these games look all the same? They really don't, to be honest. These games do not look the same.
Does the gameplay look different? Faster?
Yes, they look very different. You see, like Burst Limit is a 2D fighter. It's a 2D fighter, but it's sort of like Tekken, sort of. You can just like move in 3D a little bit by sidestepping. And these other games, they're just arena fighters. And yeah, these gameplay styles are very different. Like Rage and Blast 2 relies more on combos, it's more of a fighting focus, while Xenoverse 2, in Xenoverse it might look like, a normal fighting game, but it's really I'd say more of an action RPG. That's what Xenoverse is really like. But anyway.
Smoother, tighter, closer to the source material. Besides the graphics, it's almost impossible to tell. And that's
no,
the
it's
problem.
not. No, it's
Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is looking to switch up the DBZ Arena Fighter formula. But the truth is, it fails to switch up the formula at all. There have been well over 100 titles.
What's the point of switching up the formula? That's not the point. The point of the point of Sparking Zero was to recapture Tenkaichi. It's supposed to be the next Tenkaichi game. It's supposed to be Tenkaichi 4. So of course they're going to keep the gameplay the same. That's what we wanted for the past 17, 16 years.
In the DBZ franchise. From the sublime to the absurd. But when Dragon Ball started using a boilerplate arena fighter template back in 2002 with the introduction of the Budokai series...
Okay, that's not an arena fighter. Dragon Ball Z, Budokai is not an arena fighter. What are they talking about? This is a 2D fighter. What?
The franchise has felt like it's been stuck in a hyperbolic time chamber. With over 20 different DBZ arena fighters released in the past 20 years.
Okay, so basically they're trying to say, like, all of these Dragon Ball games the same. No, they're not. Like, look at all these listed. Budokai's a 2.5D fighter, like, it's sort of like Tekken, like I said. Tenkaichi 3 is fully 3D arena fighter. You fight in a sandbox. Fighters, that's a fully 2D, like, competitive fighter. Traditional 2D fighter, something akin to like Guilty Gear or Street Fighter. Legends, that's not even an arena fighter, that's just a mobile game. And then Budokai 2, same as Budokai 1, 3, same. And Saga's not even a fighting game. What? What is this list? In Dragon Ball Z 2 Super Battle, that's just 2D fighter as well.
Sparking Zero promises to be more of an exercise in nostalgia than an actual competitive fighting game.
But she's got a new hat.
Okay.
Dragon Ball fans...
But that's not the point. Sparking Zero is not trying to be competitive. If you want to play a competitive fighting game, play Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Deserve better. Full disclosure, I've been a huge Dragon Ball fan since I stumbled across it on Spanish Access Television when I was 10 years old. I love Dragon Ball. Okay, it means more to me than any other animated franchise. I name my cat Piccolo and sometimes dress him up like Lord Beerus. That's why I need Dragon Ball Z to do better.
Alright, bro. So I guess the point they're trying to make is Oh yeah, I've been a Dragon Ball fan for all my life. I've been a Dragon Ball Z fan for forever. But that doesn't mean that you know what you're talking about when it comes to the games. There's plenty of Dragon Ball fans that really just they know the anime, they watch the anime. Everyone's seen Dragon Ball at this point. But this doesn't mean that you know much about the games. You can be a Dragon Ball fan and not play the games and not know much about them. Just because you're saying you watch the anime doesn't mean you know what you're talking about in terms of the games.
Looking back on the past is comforting, but we can't live in it forever. We deserve
Bro,
either a
Battle Z.
transformative leap forward for the series or a sequel to the only transcendent Dragon Ball game over the last decade. I've played Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and unfortunately, my fears were confirmed. This is deja vu all over again. Now, the Sparking Zero graphics are the best they've ever been, and I applaud them for having
Controls are
destructible
meh.
environments and trees that sway when hit with key power, but graphics alone do not make a game. When you dissect a match, it's much slower than it looks. Real impact.
Okay, why are you using footage from a build? This was like the very first gameplay footage for Sparking Zero, by the way. So this build is probably like years old. This isn't up to date footage. When did this video come out? 3 days ago. They could have used footage from like, I don't know, from Summer's Game Fest or something. But they decided to use footage from the very first build of the game.
And damage is far apart, and it doesn't have the back and forth, keep 'em guessing momentum battles of top fighting games.
Oh my gosh,
We're
why are
seeing
you
technique-
comparing this to traditional 2D fighters? These are like two completely different genres, different audience. Like, we not playing Sparking Zero to have a competitive match. Like I said, if you want that, just play Dragon Ball Fighters.
Nation in the gameplay sphere, where Sparking Zero is extremely similar to the last several dozen Dragon Ball Arena fighters. It feels more like the return of the EA Sports College Football franchise than a new spin on Dragon Ball.
Oh my gosh,
Updated
no way
graphics,
you just compared it to
familiar
that.
controls. And I need to talk about those controls, because if you've ever wondered what it's like to be one of the Z fighters, turn elsewhere, because the controls are not great. Dragon Ball is at its best when it delivers.
I mean,
on
I can't say myself because I haven't played Sparking Zero yet. It's not even out yet.
Yelling makes your special bar max out, and then you can pull off bigger moves and Kamehamehas, but it comes at the cost of pacing. Powering up freezes you in place while your special bar fills up, leaving you vulnerable.
I mean, it's always been like that. Like, you stand in place, you're powering up. Like, it's always been like that. They even do that in the show. Like, what do you expect them to do? You expect them to power up while moving? Like, you expect them to do that or something? That's not how that works. That's not how Dragon Ball is. Bro, they always stand in place when they're powering up in Dragon Ball. It's more accurate to the anime, if anything. Like, I don't get it. It's been like that in every Dragon Ball game. You charge up, even in fighters, even though you don't even use key charge that much, but you charge up and then you stand in place. That's how that works. That's how a key charge works in anything, pretty much. So I don't know what they mean. I don't get how that's a criticism for the game.
Part of DBZ, but it still makes the game feel clunky. And here's why. It's because the controls are too complex for casuals, but not technical enough for hardcore gamers. It's been 20 years
What are you
since Dragon
talking
Ball
about?
Budokai 1. And
Okay, hold on. That control point, what is he talking about? He said the control... Hold
It's
on.
because the controls are too complex for casuals, but not technical enough for hardcore gamers.
Too complex for casuals and not too... What? What do you mean too complex for casuals? I've been playing Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, Tenkaichi 2 since I was little. Even Rage and Blast. Those games are not too hard, too complex for casuals. I played those games casually, and the controls were pretty easy to understand.
It's been 20 years since Dragon Ball Budokai 1, and transitioning from ground to air combat is still awkward.
How?
Locking on doesn't feel right. Ascending and descending could be streamlined, and it's not always clear if you whiffed a beam because of something you did, or if you just weren't on the right plane. You might even
Bro.
find yourself fighting underwater. but doesn't slow you down or change anything at all. It just puts on a slightly different filter.
No, that's not true. That's not true. In Tenkaichi games, when you're underwater, you charge slower. Like, your ki rises slower whenever you're charging, so it definitely changes something. They're not going to have water physics because, of course, like, it's like they're flying underwater. They're not going to... That's going to be annoying if you're just underwater and you're, like, swimming while fighting. That's going to be annoying as hell, so I don't know why they would change that. If anything, it's a good thing.
Fighting games? Like
that
Street
they kept
Fighter,
it the same.
Tekken, and Under Night In-Birth?
This guy needs to stop
mimicking
comparing
your
Sparking Zero
emotion,
to these games.
gathering power, and pushing a button to release it. There's an emphasis on frame advantage, timing, and spacing.
Like, that's not the game Sparking Zero is trying to be. Don't you understand that? Budokai Tenkaichi was never meant to be a traditional 2D fighter that, relies on frame data, spacing, and all that. That's not what Dragon Ball Budokai... That's not what, like, any arena fighter is. Naruto Storm, Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia. That's not what any of these arena fighters are trying to be. They're just trying to be fun games that casuals that watch the anime, like the anime, can pick up, and then they can just, like, press buttons, start mashing, and be like, oh yeah, I'm playing as my favorite character, I'm winning. Like, that's the point of these games. Not something that, like, can be played competitively in tournaments. Obviously, there is a competitive scene for these games, but these games aren't balanced enough to the point where it can be played in a competitive scene. Like, you're not going to see Sparking Zero at EVO. That's just not going to happen.
Can mean the difference between victory
because
and defeat.
Sparking Zero is an unbalanced game, which is the point.
At a higher level. Meanwhile, Sparking Zero feels like you're controlling a tank from very far away, and it's frustrating. Even the best fighting games can sometimes devolve into button mashing, but this is so counterintuitive that it borders on parody, which, hey, might be appropriate. Have you ever watched a Dragon Ball fight? It's all fast punches that don't hit, a knockdown, and a beam to finish it. It's awesome to watch. But when you're watching Goku punch so fast that those frames repeat, or is moving faster than your eyes can clock, that's primarily so animators don't have to draw as much. But it doesn't translate well to gameplay. Playing it is a different beast.
What?
It sucks all the energy out of something that, in the anime, was deliberately paced that way to save budget. So, what does...
Okay, so just a few minutes ago, wasn't this guy talking about how Sparking Zero's gameplay felt slow? And now he's talking about it's too fast? It's too accurate to the anime? I don't understand. Like, he's saying, oh yeah, they're fighting fast in the anime. It doesn't translate well to gameplay. But he was just talking about how slow the gameplay looked. What?
Does Sparking Zero have going for it? Well, for one, there's a huge roster. Unfortunately, there's almost no character differentiation.
Oh my god.
A lot of the characters share animations and combos. Functionally, there are probably closer to a dozen or so character types, and that's being generous. With 182 slots, who's champing at the bit to play characters like Nail and Kakunsa? If they're gonna go all out, I want some crazy characters. Bulma and a robot.
What the hell? What the hell is this guy talking about?
Taco Shirt Krillin. World Tournament announcer. Farmer with a shotgun.
Tell me, why would any of these characters be playable? Like, Krillin with a taco shirt, that can just be a costume. That's just wasting slots at that point. But he's saying, like, none of the characters have character differentiation. I don't know. So, these characters, not all these characters play the same. Obviously not. Some characters will have different combos than others. Some characters will be faster than others. You act like they're all just like all 182 of these characters are just copied and paste like the same moveset, the same normals, the same combos, the same supers. Some of them might be like that because, it's 182 characters. There's going to be some, clones in there. Like, let's say Super Saiyan 1 Goku versus Super Saiyan 2 Goku. Their combos are probably going to be the same because it's not, that much of an upgrade, but they're going to have like different supers and all that. But that's not going to be every single character in the game, bruh. Characters are going to be different. Like, these characters
Pay
are not
tribute to
copy and
Toriyama
paste.
by having one of his self-inserts be playable. There is an aspect of power scaling in Sparking Zero that's supposed to reflect the show's lore. Someone like Super Saiyan Blue Goku hits several times harder than Yamcha, which he well should, but that's a poor substitute for balance. Other games represent power differential matchups by showing different moves and impact. Still, because...
Okay, so why is he talking about character balance and, like... Why is he talking about character balance and he shows Marvel 3? This is like one of the most unbalanced fighting games ever made. What are you talking about? What?
Other games represent power differential matchups by showing different moves and impact. Still,
right, that's the point of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Dragon Ball Tenkaichi. If you're gonna choose someone like Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta, and you fight like, let's say, Videl or Hercule or something, obviously Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta is going to win because they've already said from the start, like the producer, Jun Fudori, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Jun Fudori or whatever. He said that obviously this game isn't going to be balanced. Don't expect a balanced roster. Characters that are stronger in canon are going to be stronger than characters who are weaker in canon. So Krillin's not going to win against Ultra Instinct Goku in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. That's not how this works. That's the point of Sparking Zero. It's supposed to be for the casuals, for the Dragon Ball fans, not the fighting game fans. If, like I said, if you want that, play Dragon Ball Fighters, because in that game you can choose Krillin and you can beat Ultra Instinct Goku. You can do that in that game. You can do that in this game too. But the thing is, it'll be harder because Ultra Instinct Goku was just built to be stronger than Krillin. But in Fighters, you can do it just fine because, you know, that's a balance game.
Every Sparking Zero character feels the same with only slight differences. The best we can hope to get is the occasional character-specific power-up animation. But exploring a bunch of different martial arts styles, whether it's MMA or drunken boxing, brings life into...
Okay, what is this guy talking about? Different fighting styles? In Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball doesn't really have that many different fighting styles. They usually just punch and kick. Like, they mostly have the same fighting styles. Why would they have different fighting styles, like you said, like drunken fists and martial arts? Well, why would they do that? Who in Dragon Ball has Drunken Fist? What? This guy said he watched the show and he's saying this?
Fighting games. Street Fighter VI launched with 18 characters. For the most part, they played differently.
Like I said, this guy needs to stop comparing
grapplers,
Sparking Zero. This is like you're comparing two completely different game genres, dude.
Types,
one's a fighting game, one's a casual arena fighter.
Types and a bunch more. Chun-Li has a different philosophy.
This is like comparing Mario Party to Mario Kart.
Man's a different playstyle. This doesn't really seem to be the case in Dragon Ball, where all characters are slight variations of Goku. Sparking Zero only has two archetypes, normal and big. It's not an entirely new mechanic.
That's not how that works.
But it was a bit different to play as Uzaro Vegeta, a giant ape form that moved very slowly and had harder punches. But the controls are so floaty and tanky to begin with, it felt more frustrating than anything. So once you've played one character, you've basically played them all.
Oh my gosh, this guy can't be serious. That's not how this works, bro. I already explained that this game has... Characters have different combos. Not every character has the same combo where you just... Like, obviously you can just mash square with every character. They all have an auto combo. That's always been a thing in Tenkaichi. But you have different ways of doing combos with, like, you know, smash attacks. And, you know, there's just different ways you can do them instead of just mashing square. It might seem that way to him because probably the way he played the game, he's probably just pressing square the entire time. That's probably what he was doing. But if you're playing a real match, like against someone, mashing square is not going to work. You're going to fight someone who knows how to time their teleportations and know how to Z counter. And mashing square is not going to work when the other person knows how to do that. Probably against like some person who don't know how to play the game, they'll probably lose to someone who's mashing square. Probably.
Dragon Ball Z games might be all about fighting and yelling, but Dragon Ball as a whole is so much more. And the games have a hard time bringing that sense of fun and confidence to the forefront.
It definitely does. It doesn't have a hard time, bro. It has it.
Goku himself was heavily influenced by Journey to the West. With his monkey tail, super strength, and martial arts abilities, as well as his mischievous nature, Goku is a modern-day Sun Wukong. As a matter of fact, Sun Wukong translates to Son Goku in Japanese, and the first Dragon Ball series especially reflects that. It's far more grounded and focused on exploration. There are moments along the way that would be perfect for a new game. For all the talking cats and horny sidekicks Goku might come across, there's a sense of world building that's missing when it's conveyed solely through punching. The anime hinges on big moments and relationships, like escaping the Red Ribbon Army with Bulma, or meeting Yamcha for the first time, or just how many bonds were formed during the first
So what is your point?
World Martial Arts Tournament. This game strips out all the context for these deep, meaningful friendships that the Z family is built on.
Bro.
I don't fault Sparking Zero for being one thing or turning it into a gameplay type, but Dragon Ball is many things.
So basically what he's trying to say is that Dragon Ball is more than just fighting. It shouldn't just be a fighting game. There's a lot of other Dragon Ball games that aren't just fighting games. There's RPGs and all that. You can play Legacy of Goku. You can play Dragon Ball Origins. You can play even Kakarot. You can even play that game. And so he's faulting Sparking Zero, saying, you know, Dragon Ball is more than fighting. Like, these characters have relations and all that. Basically, Sparking Zero, it expects you to know these characters already. This game is for the Dragon Ball fans. This game is for the Dragon Ball fans who have been fans of the series for years, who have been waiting so many years for a new Budokai Tenkaichi game. That's what this game is for. So if you go into Sparking Zero, you should pretty much know who all these characters are. Well, not every single character, probably. You probably don't know who freaking unless you're like a huge Dragon Ball fan, you probably don't know so many characters in Tournament of Power, but this game expects you to know most of these characters. They don't need to recap all these characters all the time. We've already had that with so many Dragon Ball games that recreate the story so many times. We've had that way too many times, which they're already kind of doing with Sparking Zero. You know, they're recreating the Z story, but they're adding a new twist to it. We're able to choose our own decisions which will affect the story of the game. So, like, example, we already had what if Goku went to fight Raditz without Piccolo. You see, like, Krillin, Master Roshi, they come by and they kill Raditz, and Goku doesn't die. So it's like cool what if stories.
You might think, well,
which isn't new to Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball games always have what if stories.
We've seen it. Dragon Ball games tread the same ground until it's paved over. The Game Boy games, Legacy of Goku, retold the Z story, but had Goku punching wolves. Kakarot retold the Z story in its entirety. Xenoverse retold the story with some what-if and time travel elements, and included a somewhat lacking create a character.
Okay, what does he mean by lacking create a character? The create a character is completely fine in Xenoverse. What do you mean? There's lots of things you can do with Xenoverse, like Xenoverse. I don't even like Xenoverse that much. I don't like Xenoverse like that, but saying it's lacking, that's not true.
Sparking Zero also has a story mode, but it'll be thin because we've seen it before.
But I get this complaint. I see where he's coming from when he says that, because there's way too many Dragon Ball games where the game starts with Raditz and ends with Boo. There's way too many. It's like, yeah, can we do something new? Which they've already done a lot of things new, and Sparking Zero is doing something new too. Like we're getting Super now, and we're getting what if stories, like I said, so it'll make the story more interesting instead of things we've already seen for the past 20 years.
Stories that challenge the player's perceptions rather than regurgitate it. Heck, where's the story of Dragon Ball pre-Z? How far will we get in the manga? Will we get manga-only characters like Moro?
No,
why not
they've
play
already
through some of the
not.
less loved but still incredible movies like Super Android 13?
Okay,
Janemba's Hell.
Good point. He's making a good point here. I'll give him that. I feel like Dragon Ball stories need to branch out more than just Z, than just canon Z. They should also do movies. They should also do OG Dragon Ball. They should do more GT, which Tenkaichi 3 did do. Tenkaichi 3 did do some of that. But it seems like Sparking Zero's not doing that, which honestly I can't say I'm that disappointed about that because we've already got enough. We don't really need story modes of OG movies in GT. We don't need all of that right now. Maybe as DLC.
Hell is a stage.
Because we already got like 182 characters. Like, I'm satisfied by that alone. We got enough content in the game already.
Baseball mode. There's so much ancillary content in the Dragon Ball world that is ripe for an adaptation that, unfortunately, will be left out for the greatest hits. And it could be a better love letter and feel like less of a money grab if they were acknowledged. Instead, we just get Frieza blowing up Krillin for the millionth time. In my opinion, Dragon Ball FighterZ is a much better use of the license and still has a robust, dedicated fan base after...
Dragon Ball FighterZ, that's not like... The story mode for that game didn't do much of anything. It had its own original story, and the original story wasn't even that good. So I guess what he means by like, oh, fighters had a much better use of the license is that, oh, it was a traditional fighter and it had pretty animations, I guess. That's about it.
6 years. Ultimately, a sequel to that series would be a better overall direction for the franchise.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Is that just one...
Listen, I would love a Fighters 2 as well. But Sparking Zero, I'm going to be real, we needed it. We really needed Sparking Zero because Dragon Ball games were so dry in 2023. Nothing but Xenoverse 2 DLC. Fighters DLC is done. That game stopped getting patches until just recently. What, Dragon Ball The Breakers is a thing? I don't think many people care about Dragon Ball The Breakers, including myself. Sorry for people who do. What, mobile games, Dragon Ball Legends, Dragon Ball Dokkan. It just... Dragon Ball games in 2023, nothing was that interesting. It was just the same old games getting DLC and updates. That's all it was. And now we got something new, Sparking Zero, a new Dragon Ball Tenkaichi game that people have been asking for years. Literal years. People have been asking for these games to get ported. They didn't even care if we didn't get a new game. But no, they went above and beyond. Bandai Namco and Spike Chunsoft went above and beyond and made a new Dragon Ball Tenkaichi game. Which I thank them for. Because it's
main release and a handful of DLC over the last 6 years, and is a fresh take on the series, which is weird considering it's a 2D fighter. It's fast-paced and competitive, so much so that it had a presence at the EVO tournament for 5 of the last 6 years. There are 44 characters, and for the most part, they play differently and include some fighting game archetypes that aren't present in arena fighters. It's relatively balanced with only a few insanely OP characters, but they literally just released a patch for that, and the graphics are still gorgeous. It needs more stages, and the menus are clunky. That's true for most Dragon Ball games. Some moments that evoke nostalgia, like Gohan and Goku's iconic father-son Kamehameha, would be a whole-ass level in a Budokai game. Why can't the Budokai series just give the fans what we all came to see from the jump?
Okay, first of all, why is he referring to it as Budokai series? Budokai only has 3 games. Budokai 1, Budokai 2, and Budokai 3, the 2D fighters. This is the thing. Okay, so it's not even just this guy. I just think a lot of people confuse it a lot. Budokai and Budokai Tenkaichi are not the same. They are not the same games. Some people think it is because, oh, okay, Tenkaichi is the next step for Budokai. No, it's not. Those are 2 completely different games. Budokai are 2D fighters, 2.5D fighters, whatever you want to say. You sidestep like Tekken. Those what those games are. It's more like Naruto, Clash of Ninja, Tekken, and whatever. Tenkaichi is a 3D arena fighter sandbox. You have 360 control, and you move around, and you fight your opponent. You lock onto your opponent. You fight them. That's what Tenkaichi is. Budokai is not... Why are you saying Budokai like Budokai and Budokai Tenkaichi are the same series? Those are 2 completely different series. He has Infinite World here too. That's... Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous, bro. He has Burst Limit and Infinite World here. Those aren't even close to Tenkaichi games. Not even close, bro. Only thing they share is like voice clips. I guess, like voice clips. That's it. Voice clips and music. Like, Tenkaichi 1 had Budokai music. That's about it.
Fighter Z does the same thing in special moves that only last a few seconds. There's so much more to mine there that going back to Arena Fighters for another release feels like a step backward.
No, oh my gosh, no it doesn't, dude.
The games industry has a bad habit of releasing rinse and repeat sequels, and we tend to reward it by buying
Right, you're saying this like we get a Tenkaichi game every year. No, we do not. We've waited 16 years for a new Tenkaichi games. In my case, 12 years because Raging Blast 2. No, sorry, not 12. 14. In my case, 14 years because Raging Blast 2. This guy acts like we get a yearly release of new Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi games. No, we don't. The last Tenkaichi game was in 2007, which was Tenkaichi 3. If he thinks like Xenoverse, Battle of Z, any of that counts, no, it doesn't. Those don't count. They don't. They don't even play like Tenkaichi at all. Not even close.
Call of Duty year after year.
Oh, he's comparing it to Call of Duty as well. This is crazy, dude. Time,
but Dragon Ball still retreads familiar ground. Want to see Goku sacrifice via special beam cannon in the same...
He's not even showing Tenkaichis. These are all different video games. You can't make this up. This is a joke. This video's a joke. This is an absolute joke, dude. Like...
It's familiar.
That's Budokai 1. That's Infinite Roll.
Want to see Goku sacrifice via special beam cannon in the...
That's Ultimate Tenkaichi, which isn't a Tenkaichi game. That game doesn't play like Ultimate... That game doesn't play like Budokai Tenkaichi.
In Saga? Right. Here it is. But you can switch to a first-person camera this time. Ultimately,
oh my gosh! Like, you even gotta look at this too, because like I said, there's what-if stories, so you don't even gotta see Goku die again. You don't gotta see Goku and Raditz getting special beam cannon.
More artful in execution. Whatever the Dragon Ball equivalent to Slow Clap's 2021 game Sifu, a 2D, 3D phase-shifting game like Pokken Tournament, or maybe
oh my gosh, he said Pokken Tournament. This is an Arena Fighter too. Pokken Tournament's also an Arena Fighter. What are you talking about? You were just talking about Dragon Ball should stop doing Arena Fighters, and you just named it an Arena Fighter.
3D phase-shifting game like Pokken Tournament, or maybe something tight and technical with balanced ranged and melee combat, like Armored Core 6.
Tenkaichi does the same thing.
According to Bandai sales data, the Dragon Ball franchise has experienced diminishing returns since 2020. It requires innovation if it's going to continue with this clip.
Wait, what? So what was that clip right there? What the hell was that? What is this? Open Road Unreal Engine. Why are they using this footage?
It's going to continue with this clip. So why go back to the well for another nostalgia fest? Being the official Tenkaichi 4 could be the kick in the pants the franchise needs. But I think a new, exciting direction is the way to go. This game will no doubt sell millions on name recognition alone. But I think its impact will quickly fade. I don't think we'll talk about it the same way years after release.
Oh no, we definitely will. No, you will be proven wrong, because to this day, Tenkaichi is still getting mods. Tenkaichi 3 is still getting support, still having videos made on. Even I'm making videos on Tenkaichi still. It's still getting mods. Like, Spark and Zero will do the same. What are you talking about? Even Xenoverse is like that. What is this guy talking about? He does not know what he's talking about when it comes to Dragon Ball games. He only watched the anime and was like, oh yeah. I'm convinced he even played the games, because he just like looked at footage of Dragon Ball games and were like, yeah, these games look the same. They have the same story mode, the same gameplay. I'm convinced he didn't even play any of these games except for Spark and Zero.
Though, a lot of people look back fondly and call Tenkaichi 3 a high watermark, and they deserve to be happy too. One of my friends is really excited about this game and couldn't give a flying nimbus about the game style being played out. I hope DBZ Sparking Zero is more than the same thing in prettier packaging. I hope it outdoes itself and is more fun than I got from the matches I played. Maybe it'll exceed expectations, but mine are very tempered. In the meantime, I'll be open for a better use of the license.
Basically,
just saying.
That was trash. That review is trash. So basically, this guy is kind of just salty that we didn't get a Fighters 2. Basically. Is that what it boils down to? Like, you're saying every Dragon Ball game looks the same except for Fighters. You can't make this up, bro. This is ridiculous. Game journalists, every single year, they always find a way to just embarrass themselves with their garbage takes. They don't know what they're talking about most of the time. These guys don't even play the games. Like, looking at this video, this just convinced me that this guy has not played Dragon Ball games, except for Fighters and Sparking Zero. That's it. Or, that's about it. That's the only thing I can think of that he played, judging from how he was speaking about Sparking Zero and Dragon Ball games as a whole. Like, bro probably just looked on YouTube and was like, okay, yeah, Dragon Ball burst limit gameplay. Like, bro just searched up burst limit gameplay, infinite world gameplay, Budokai 1 gameplay or something. He looked at this and was like, oh yeah, this is the same as Tenkaichi. Like, bro, this doesn't even look close to Tenkaichi, bro. Not even close. Now let me show you gameplay for Tenkaichi 3. Not even close. Like, look, you see it's a 3D arena fighter. You're in the bigger plane and you're in 3D. The camera's behind your back. So I don't know how this guy got Budokai, Burst Limit, Infinite World, and Tenkaichi. I don't know how he thought those looked the same. They don't. They look completely different. That's like comparing. That's like looking at Tekken, and then you're looking at Naruto Storm, and you're like, oh yeah, they're both fighting. So yeah, that's the same. Bro, like, I can't with game journalists, dude. It's ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, that's enough of my rambling about game journalists embarrassing themselves with stuff they don't know what they're talking about. Also, I saw today that Sparking Zero, the entire game, got leaked. Everyone watch out, because you're gonna see tons of spoilers from people. Because Sparking Zero's the entire game got leaked. Some people are playing it as we speak. It's out right now for some people. But yeah, we only got 4 days left. We're almost there. And yeah, I just hope everyone enjoys Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. We're very close. And yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Come back to the channel when Sparking Zero comes out, because we're going to be making tons of content. And yeah, see you guys next time. Goodbye.